Welcome, guys. Welcome to the Watchalong for the Belgium qualifying session. It should be, well, exciting. They have been. They've got better, the qualifying sessions. But if you've been watching FP1, 2, or 3, and especially 3, the Mercedes in the hands of one driver looks particularly strong. Up and behind, it's very mixed at the moment. And we'll have some surprise positions, I think, come the end of qualifying. I'll be shocked if one man's not on pole position, though. Welcome, Kimi Phoenix. Welcome, Pedal to the Metal. We've got your predictions in. Pole for Max, Kimi, and you've gone for Charles, second and third, Kimi. Interesting. Pedals, sticking with Lewis. No surprise. Kimi and then Lando. Well, it should be exciting. It should be interesting. And, well, in my predictions, I think I had Charles Leclerc to take pole position. I've got it written down what I actually did, I think, somewhere. But, yeah. I had Charles to take pole position, but after watching free practice, if Kimi Antonelli doesn't take pole position, he's binned it or he's had a car problem because he is flying. He was a second faster than George Russell for pretty much most of FP3, and George eventually closed up, but still 4/10 back. Lando for a change, yeah. Pedals, Lando second, and he's been closer in that McLaren. He was close in FP2 as well. And the McLarens have bought upgrades. I literally did my preview, uploaded it and everything, went onto the F1 news channels website, see what's going on, anything new. And then all I've got is McLaren have bought significant upgrades. And I didn't think they'd do very well here this weekend because they've generally struggled. But significant upgrades apparently, but when you look at the upgrade list that the FIA release, and there's quite a few teams that have bought upgrades, so I'll go through them. But McLaren's just really looked to revisions to the rear wing, tweaking the rear wing end plate and the rear wing assembly. So that's didn't sound significant. I'm guessing it brings significant upgrades and updates to that car, so we'll see how that pans out. So yeah, that was the interesting one. Lando Norris, if you're not aware and you've not been following, will take a 10-place grid penalty as well. He's basically had a new or a fourth electrical unit. Two failed, one completely destroyed itself. The second they repaired it, and then I think it was I can't remember where else it was, but it destroyed itself again. The third they've been using since Miami, and Mercedes have bought an update or an upgrade to that electrical unit. So McLaren have gone for the reliability sense of it, they've gone to upgrade it. And that should see them through till the end of the season. So that's promising. It's not something that they think should reoccur. So it's not like we're going to have to see this penalty again later in the season. It's good that they think this should last them till the end of the season. So we'll see how that plans out. In terms of other penalties, Isaac Hadjar's had quite a few power unit changes. He had a power unit issue at the start of FP3 as well, I think. Managed to keep going, though, but he'll start at the back of the grid because of the amount of penalties. He's taken a fourth engine part on that. Lance Stroll will also take a 10-place grid penalty, a fourth MG UK. Interestingly enough, his teammate Fernando Alonso just said the only thing he's looking forward to this weekend is just getting on a plane home to watch Spain in the World Cup final. So as about as exciting as it's getting for Aston Martin, there was news on Aston Martin that I was going to mention, or was it just like the fact that we were really slow? 5.7 seconds. They were off the pace in FP1. It was, I mean, the talks of about 70 points of downforce that they're bringing with this new aero package, the new engine, which I mentioned in the, well, uh in the in the preview, is coming for Dutch, so after the summer break. But even that, apparently it's only like 2.3, 2.4 seconds of pace is that aero package, and at the moment they're nearly that far behind Cadillac, so I don't think that it really gets them anywhere, does it? It'll be something special if we see them start getting into Q2, because it has to just be a hell of an upgrade. Everybody's bought upgrades. There was an issue in FP1 as well with Ferrari. They were under investigation for not returning a set of tires. They did it electronically, but didn't do it physically. Well, they were late on that. Luckily, though, it was just a fine for the team. I think that's the right choice. But the last time that happened, it was Aston Martin, and they got a one-place grid penalty for Nico Hulkenberg. I think it was at the time. So they kind of got away with it there. I think you've got to say, more upgrades. Racing Bulls have bought, alongside, I think it's Haas, have bought the most upgrades. Racing Bulls have got a new engine cover, roll hoop, front corner, rear wing. What else have they got? Yeah, improved airflow and downforce, so that'll help them, especially around sector 2, and they've been best of the rest. I expect them to be there in the top 10 again this weekend. Our Audi have got a revised diffuser and rear wing. Haas have got a new front wing, front corner, and beam wing. So Haas have bought upgrades. Finally, they needed them because they were slowly dripping back into Formula 3, weren't they, at the moment? Or Tier 3 of Formula 1. In the last couple of Grand Prix, they were battling it out with Williams for that title. Alpine have reprofiled the halo, nothing major on there. Cadillac have also got a new geometry on the front wing end plate. Not huge changes, but they bought a big upgrade package in Austria, which they didn't really get to use there. I guess they're still learning on that side of things. McLaren have recovered. Red Bull have ditched the Macarena wing. That was something I mentioned in the preview. FIA were going to look at it on safety concerns, but pre all that, they've just ditched it because it's just not safe. They couldn't get to the bottom of why it's broken. I think that's a big disappointment. Max Verstappen said it was just clear why they've ditched it. They're going to lose speed down the straights with that. I think that would have been a brilliant weapon for them, but it's a shame it's not safe. So the worst bit is there is straight line mode pre Eau Rouge coming out of the hairpin and that short bit of straight before they get Eau Rouge, and if that doesn't close there, you're in for a huge accident. So it's not a place you risk it if you're not 100%. They've had 2 accidents with it. And you can't afford that because that we've seen people pass away over there. So it's not a corner or a circuit you mess around with. Is Spa. Really, really disappointing on that. Continuing with Red Bull and Max Verstappen, he's signed a deal, but not with Red Bull. He's signed young McLaren driver Dries van Langenholt. He's fully immersed himself into motorsport, hasn't he, Max? He's almost Mr. F1, Mr. Cars, isn't he? He's revolved and fully immersed in everything. He's got his own team. He's into the sim racing, do the GT stuff, and now he's managing young talent. Interestingly enough, though, a lot of the young drivers, whether they are part of the Red Bull program or not, really, really rate Max Verstappen and the way he treats them and welcomes them into the paddock. So obviously, clearly quite a great guy, but just doesn't give off, or didn't to me previous, that kind of persona. He just seemed a bit of a arrogant, old driver's son, privileged boy, but he's the more you get to know his stories, read about him, and the talent is obvious, the more I've kind of got to like him. In terms of driver move, there's been talks of Liam Lawson also. Talk of him being potentially replaced by Nicholas Solov, the F2 driver. If you've been watching some of the F2 stuff, I have over the last couple of Grand Prix when it's been on. Just had the time to do it. That's no massive love for it. But he's done really, really well in the last couple of Grand Prix that I've watched. Really impressive driver. But it just seems so harsh to have this talk already that Liam will be the one, if it is either of Lindblad and Lawson, that he's going to take their seat. It seems really harsh because Liam's been on a bit of a roll the last 3-4 Grand Prix. Lindblad has been right there with him. He's a younger man, and if they had to make a choice, I don't think they do, but if they had to, I could see why they'd probably go with Liam over Lindblad. Lindblad's right there on the pace with Liam. He's younger, it's rookie season, and they maybe think he's just got more space to grow. I just think it's really harsh. I don't think Liam deserves that sort of speculation yet, so we'll see. It'll be a end of season replacement, that one, Kimi, if it happens, not this season, so that's next season talk. So watch out for that. I just think there's a bit of a nonsense. I don't know. I kind of hope it is, especially for Liam's sake. We've seen him turn a corner. He had the horrible 2-race period with Red Bull. So I think that would be awful, even if it's next season. I just think that's pretty harsh. On that one, what have I covered? Pretty much most things that I've. No, there's a few things. Sprints, talking of 27, F1 are looking to move up to at least 9 sprint races next season, potentially 12. I think we have 6, was previously 3. So step by step, they're looking to get more sprint and Grand Prix weekends in. In terms of the action, I don't mind it, but when you're a fan and it's just literally just takes over your whole Saturday, doesn't it, watching a sprint and then a qualifying session, although I absolutely love it, but if you've got other things going in your life, it does take away your full Saturday, doesn't it? And I'm kind of quite happy with the 6 that we have. I don't want them to just go to 12 and then we end up with sprint races, like around Monaco as a gimmick, or like Hungary, where you barely get any overtakes. We've seen them do it before. Was it Singapore that they did a sprint race last season? Just because of a sprint race for the sprint race sake I just think that's a bit silly. But yeah, get in the comments on that one. What do you think? Would you prefer more sprints or happy with the 6 that we have? I would be happy with the 6 we have. It'd just be more selective. Silverstone was a good place to have it. Sao Paulo, another good place to have it. I wouldn't even mind one round Spa, but I think it's just, how many laps would you do? 8? It's probably just not enough. Places where you can actually overtake, follow. I'm with you, Kimi, on that one. I don't know if it's just an old school head on me that just kind of likes the tradition, and where F1 has moved on in terms of the qualifying hour needed fixing, although I initially hated it. I absolutely love qualifying when it was back just an hour, and I know we only got sort of 10 minutes at running right at the very end, but that 10 minutes was absolutely explosive and really, really exciting. I think they've got that right. So when they do move in the right directions, they made mistakes but got there in the end with the Q1, Q2, Q3 session. So changes, I think when you're an old head sometimes watching, you just like the traditional elements of it, but it works, and you can see some benefits to it. I think if you're a fan going to a race weekend, I'd probably want to go to a sprint over a traditional sort of 3 free practice sessions, because you've got a race to watch, you've got another qualifying session to watch, and you're going to see him on the edge more regularly over 3 days than just 2 sessions. So I get it as a fan turning up to a race weekend. I'd probably want to go to a sprint, but let's see what happens with that one. A sprint every second race. Oh, Pedals, you're going for sort of basically the 12, aren't you? You like it. Fair enough. I could see why, though. If you're turning up to a race weekend, like I said, I'd absolutely want that. Didn't a team bring an upgrade for only one driver? I can't remember who it is. I've no idea who that is. Could be Cadillac, or it could be Haas. I don't know, because they struggle with just basically. Is it Haas? Have they just bought it for Berman? And I've not got that in my notes, to be honest with you, Pedals. I've missed it. So I hope you don't mind me calling you Pedals. I know it's just a bit long-winded. I want 2 practice sessions though. When would you have the second? What, 1, 2, and then sprint qualifying, sprint race qualifying, and the main race, or would you have that practice session after the sprint race so you can get some practice in, ready for main qualifying in the race? If it was me, I'd probably like it after the sprint race, because Parc Fermé is open and then you can practice on your setups and we might get 2 different sort of Grand Prix in a way, because you've got time for team to go in a different direction, see if they've got it right. Whereas now they don't get the chance to see if they get it right. And yeah, makes sense. But I just think the timing of that is just too difficult, isn't it? Where you got a sprint race and then the qualifying session for Sunday, unless you did a Friday sprint day, which was qualifying and sprint race, but you've got a free practice session as well. It just gets very packed. I think that is going to be that would be the hard bit, wouldn't it? 2 qualifying sessions on Saturday with the sprint race between. Yeah, I don't know if that'd be workable, but yeah, we'll see. Watch the space on that. Bahrain is potentially going to be back on the calendar. They're looking to, if it is gonna happen, it's going to be announced pre summer break. So watch out for that one. If it's not this weekend, next weekend, because then they go away, and after that they don't have any more time to get that in. So we could see that as an extra race in October. F1, FIA, all working very hard to do that. I've seen some places some sort of criticism of that as a money grab and this, that, the other. Well, I just think more races, more F1, and I'm happy for it, to be fair. So if that can happen, also we've still got potential risks to the final 2 Grand Prix, isn't it? Qatar and Abu Dhabi. Let's hope there is no more wars around the world, and we do get the racing that we want. Esteban Ocon has Bahrain. Why would they go there now? Just to get the extra Grand Prix, isn't it? They missed it, didn't they? With the war going on, it was Saudi and Bahrain that got cancelled. And that's why they want to go there now. The war is potentially settled. World's moving on, and they can try and get the race in. Both countries, as far as I'm aware, want the race to happen. It's just whether they can get in there. Forget about the Gulf races this year. If they can get it in, it's safe. I just think get the racing on, personally. I think the key word there is safe, and no more wars, but I just don't think it is safe at the minute. We'll see what happens with that, because it just seems a bit messy. But like I say, they're going to have enough notice. If we don't have anything by next week, which is Hungary, back-to-back races, so we'll find out soon enough if anything happens with that. Esteban Ocon, if you're looking for him and a fan, he's got a Spider-Man helmet for this weekend. The actual images that you see on Twitter with sort of the matte look on it look brilliant, but I've seen images with it on track and it's like a glossy finish. And I don't like it. War is currently... Yeah, it does look like that, doesn't it, Kimi? So I don't think that would be in the news that F1 or FIA were looking at in terms of it. But like I said, if it's going to carry on like that, just stop it. Don't bother with the yes and last minute no sort of thing. If it's not happened, it's tough luck. It's the way it goes. But for me personally, like I said, if we can get another race, I'm all for it. Key, it just needs to be safe though. On that, we've got Lewis on track now. He had a big crash. Well, not a big crash. Well, it was a big enough crash in free practice, and I don't know what or how many parts they've changed on it, because Pierre Gasly had a similar crash in FP2, but his was worse, more damage than Lewis. And I don't know if they've done a gearbox replacement on Lewis's car. It would be precautionary, and it would be one of the other ones, so no penalties coming in on that one. So we'll see what happens on that. But yeah, if you're looking for Ocon, he's got a Spider-Man helmet. I think he's done this before with Alpine, and it was both him and Gasly that had superhero helmets. I think they look the best. But yeah, special helmet liveries to look out for. And talking of helmet liveries and people, things like that, we've got Valentino Rossi. They did a feature with him in F1. It's always good to see him and around, and he probably did the best helmets there are. But get in the comments, who do you think was or has the best helmet? I think the one that I've liked the most was the basketball style that Lando Norris did a couple of years back. It's probably one of my favorite F1 helmets that have been done as a special. Talking just specials here rather than individuals. Superheroes have to do with Belgium. Nothing. It's just a special livery. I think is there a new Spider-Man movie coming out? I think, because he was doing some sort of interview with Tom Holland, who is the Spider-Man guy, isn't he? So, thanks. I think that's about it, really. I don't understand the special for Belgium. It's, well, just for this weekend, I guess. Otherwise, it would be a waffle helmet, wasn't it? If it's special for Belgium, that's a bit too sort of cliche. That. Yeah, I think you're right on that one. He must be a massive Spider-Man fan, because he's had that helmet twice now. So we'll see what happens on that. I don't know if you're thinking up if you're going to bother or not. It's 5 minutes 40 on Q1 session remaining. Lando Norris top, followed by the two Red Bulls and a Racing Bull, and then Kimi Antonelli. So he's not had the lap or the pace yet that we've seen him have pretty much all weekend. Norris or Russell looking closer to him, only a 10th back. But clearly it's just about who's going out. The last place is just going to be a battle with Stroll and Alonso. And then the two Cadillacs. But then it's a bit of a mix, because if you look at the pace of Ocon's currently sort of 18th, but he's half a second slower than Ollie Berman. And I think that's one thing here this weekend that I've noticed, is the gaps between teammates is oddly bigger than it has been in other places. And I don't know if that's just certain drivers that have done well this season, that have just got on top of the cars, are making the most of it. It's more obvious around this circuit than others. And I think that really comes down to the drivability, or how they are able to maximize the battery power on these cars. And if you can do that, and you can do it well, it really shows at this circuit, because it's energy hungry. And I think that's really critical around this circuit. So we'll see how it goes. 4 minutes 10 to go on the clock. But it'd be interesting if Lando Norris and McLaren take pole, but then oddly enough, they sadly are taking a 10th place grid penalty. Be a bit of a kick in the teeth that for them. I don't think they will have the pace from 10th to win it, even if they are fastest. But the gap behind that we've seen the Mercedes in free practice sessions has been big. Through most of free practice, like I said, FP3, the Antonelli was just mega. Did one lap, basically. It was fastest for pretty much the whole session. Sat in the box. He didn't even beat his own on his second run, although he aborted his first run on the tyres went around again, and then just lap time wasn't there. So something to watch out for in qualifying now is, can they actually do 2 laps on these tyres? They are hanging on better than we've seen, sort of, for example, in Silverstone, and was it Austria, where it was just really clear it was just 1 lap on the softs. There's potential to get 2 laps on it, so watch out for that. Kimi on used tyres as we follow him around the circuit. We'll see how the Red Bulls done. They've actually come out faster, haven't they? Max Verstappen was fastest in FP1 with a bit of a surprise. They were really quick in Sector 2, so watch out for Max Verstappen there. They don't get to use the battery in Sector 2. It's just pure engine power. And is that what the FIA were talking about when they said they've got the strongest engine? And it's kind of showing in that second sector. There's just not the battery there to use within Sector 2, and I think it's tight and twisty, so we'll see how that pans out. But Antonelli, not a great first sector, is it, at the moment? He's a 4 tenths down. I mean, I don't think he's... Yeah, 7 tenths down now. Antonelli's pace is a little off. I know he's on used softs here, but we'll see how that works out for him. George Russell closer to Lando Norris. And he just needs a confidence boost. He can pull out a lap. We've seen him do it in Canada, where he just looked like he was on the back foot to Kimi Antonelli, and come qualifying, he's just sort of, I don't know if there's a bit of sandbagging between teammates going on there, but not seeing him have any real pace. And if you can pull it out in qualifying, you'll be happy, but he's not. Moves further. He's 2 tenths ahead of Kimi Antonelli, but I mean, Russell's been 6th, 7th, 8th, I think, something like that, within the free practice session, so he's not had the pace of Kimi Antonelli, and the only quick Mercedes has been Kimi. Otherwise, it has been between the McLarens and Red Bulls. Ferraris, I thought they would go really well here, especially after a promising Silverstone. But they are a little bit off the pace. I don't think they're quite there with the Red Bull and McLaren this race weekend. I think there's about a 10th back, but let's see. Boy, too bad fix that Ferrari. They absolutely did, didn't they? What, 2 hours or so they had to completely fix a whole rear end. But Lewis with a better line, P4. He'll be happy with that. He's been the faster of the 2 Ferraris again this weekend. Charles, who had the man who I had tipped for pole position, just not quite there. Alex Albon out. So we've got Alonso out qualifies, Stroll, and then Perez, Bottas. Bottas out qualifies Sergio Perez. He's looked better here actually this weekend. He had a good FP3. I think it was 14th place. So promise, he's done well. It's really, really good to see Bottas improve. Sergio's had the better of him. Let's hope he can carry it through into race day. It's where he's had all the bad luck pretty much, hasn't he, Valtteri? Ocon 18th, and that's not good, is it, from him? He's 7 tenths slower than Ollie Berman. I mean, Ollie Berman's only just squeezed through in that session with the P16, so there's not by any means absolutely miles ahead of him, but 7 tenths is miles ahead of anybody, isn't it? Especially between teammates. It's getting on the sort of embarrassing side as they show Esteban Ocon, and you can spot him with the Spider-Man helmet I was just talking about earlier. No, tried with a slipstream, didn't really work for Spider Stickies, no wonder, yep. didn't held him, pulled him back or held him back rather than shot out and stretched forward, isn't it? I think he was trying to use his web and just hold on to the back of a Mercedes or something, wouldn't he? Well, they need whatever they can in that Haas team at the moment, so we'll see. But yeah, the usual suspects at the back. Alex Albon is out, though, in the Williams, and they've bought, like I say, a bit of a new rear floor corner on their car. I was, and I'm just sort of going back to check on myself on this one, because in Silverstone, James Vowles definitely said that they're working on a Spec B car, kind of like Alonso, and don't expect any upgrades. But they bought some upgrades to Silverstone and they've bought upgrades here. So either I've sort of heard that completely wrong, and I'm trying to just, and I will probably get to the bottom of it pre-race on that one. Are they actually going to bring a Spec B, or are they just going to bring small upgrades or consistent upgrades? There's two sort of philosophies on that. Like Ferrari have almost brought every Grand Prix bar two. This one is the one Grand Prix Ferrari have bought no upgrades. Welcome, Primcat. I thought you were missing. Thanks for joining along. But yes, Ferrari, no upgrades this race weekend. Did bring some, pretty much every Grand Prix. You just gone for the alternate route. And I think it depends on where you are in the championship, is don't do anything and bring big upgrades, kind of like Aston Martin, Haas have done the same. But that's traditional Haas's pattern, just because of the funding and the money that they have and the lack of infrastructure to produce parts. So we'll see what happens on that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they go. I've heard and seen a lot of criticism recently of McLaren. I know they were complaining a little bit about this whole Mercedes engine, and Gunter Steiner said I think they need to grow up a little bit and start producing their own engine. And I actually kind of agree with Gunther. There's some things I don't really agree with him on, but that one I thought was bang on, nail on the head. Why, as a big F1 team, they have been since I've been watching in '98. I know they've had drop-offs since then, lost their way, came back, dropped off again, and now they're sort of back towards the front, but they're still a big team, big history in Formula One. So I'm not sure why they've not gone down the route of Red Bull. Is it just pure money and funding? Because it is a big project to fund. But Red Bull have done it, obviously with the help of the Ford branding deal. But Red Bull had gone that way with the Red Bull powertrains after their split with Honda, or with the Honda whole sort of going again. So I thought that was a really interesting talk from Gunther. Do McLarens have Merc engines in the road cars? Yeah, I believe they do. They don't do their own cars, or own engines. I believe they are doing so, though, for some sort of hypercar. And I think, is that a first? And is that a step in the direction of producing own engines? But they are one of the big teams that have not done it. And I kind of understood Gunter's point, sort of like they need to grow up a bit. This is a funny way of putting it, but it makes absolute sense. I think they should. But yeah, that'll be the first one that I am aware of. Everything else, they've used Merc engines previous. That's why the big McLaren Mercedes deal was strong, wasn't it? We'll see how that plans out and plays out. So be interesting to see. We can sell Ford engines in a Lambo shell. I mean, when you look into it, a lot of the manufacturers, that's quite common, of how many into parts they do. Like Mercedes don't just produce everything on their cars. the amount of partners that are used across different companies is quite big. Even on gearboxes, they'll just use sort of certain ones, and they'll produce gearboxes for a number of different companies. And as big as Mercedes or someone like that are, it's interesting that they don't produce almost everything in-house. One of the few that do a lot of that big stuff is Ferrari. I know they produce and have done a lot of in-house stuff in their mega factories back in Maranello. But obviously still have partners to do some of the electronics and bits and bobs. So yeah, just interesting that they've not sort of brought them all in-house, considering where they're such big brands, and that's all they do, and the amount of parts that they have. Why they'd not want to sort of close the deal off with these guys or the companies and have it all in-house, unless it's just a money thing, which it probably is. And do they really need to have that? And it's another extra element and a business to handle. I think a lot of things come into play. Yeah, but $1 million car that doesn't have its own engine is astounding. Yes, it is, to be fair. But yeah, really interesting when you look at some of these, where the engines actually come from. In a lot of cars, it's surprising. Even sort of top end and bottom end of the engine can come from two different places on certain cars. So yeah, mad how interlinked these actually are. They work together and not sort of rivals, as sort of car followers sometimes think they are. Don't get me wrong, there are rivalries and all that sort of stuff, but sort of behind the scenes and commercial road going cars, it's a different ball game. But we go. Q2 started, 13 minutes to go. George Russell out early. He's got some pace to find, hasn't he? Really struggled at the moment. I think that's been one of the big differences or surprises. I'm excited to see how well Audi do. They've had a good run, Audi, especially in FP3. And I've started to like them more and more just as a team. Not that I really hate any team in that sense. A team's just a team, I guess, but I did find it hard to like Red Bull, though, to be fair. But 12 minutes to go. Lewis will be happy. I think you might be happy with Lewis's last time pedals, P4. It's good to see him get back up and perform. Germans make great cars. It's one thing they're pretty brilliant at, aren't they? I think 3, 4 of the top brands are all there, aren't they? Big VW, who now own pretty much everything that comes out of Germany with, was it Skoda, VW, Audi, Lamborghini is now VW. Yeah, they're massive, aren't they? German automotive. Obviously, then got Mercedes and BMW also. I was looking at the BMW story, to be honest. I still remember them with Robert Kubica driving in the BMW. And, they left 2009, wasn't it, after the financial crisis. But I've been digging and they've just sort of vowed never to return to Formula One. So interesting to see what the fallout of that was. Was it just purely the financial crisis, or the F1 sort of just told them where to go when they might have sought some assistance to stay. But looked like there was a little bit of blood there when you look into some of the history on BMW leaving and not returning, because there was talk potentially of BMW back at points earlier in, I think it was early this season, pre-season. But yeah, Porsche as well. I was a bit disappointed the Porsche deal didn't happen. With, was it Red Bull Porsche at one point, and I would have liked to see, I don't know if I would like to see Porsche in here as well. Big motorsport history, aren't they, Porsche? They obviously got the doing well with the Le Mans car as well that they've produced. So brilliant GT cars, just not in Formula One. I can't remember ever seeing them in there. They've not been in my lifetime anyway in Formula One. Maybe pre, something to dig into. Max with a purple middle sector. It's Hadjar, this coming across. Third, it's Max that we want to watch. He's flying. Second, 4/10. Bit of a gap to Kimi Antonelli. Kimi Antonelli back to where we know. No new Porsches for a while, no. Russell is P8 on the cusp, isn't he? Russell needs a lap. Arvid has been quick with this weekend. Not much to pick between the two. He just pipped Liam Lawson in free practice 3. But them two have drove really well. Really impressed with Arvid. It's his rookie season and he's right on the money with Liam Lawson. Like I was mentioning before, is that the reason why we've got this Lawson talk? If one was to go, it's now what, second or third season for Liam Lawson. Last season, it feels like it was a full season for him, but it was a complete mess. So it's hard to judge it, to mentality to overcome it and all that sort of stuff. But Lindblad's been impressive. You're right. I think this weekend pedals is done well. He's looked good. Let's see. Charles Leclerc pops in a lap. 3/10 or just 2.5 to Kimi Antonelli. This is why I had him for potentially pole. I think there's only one man taking pole position in my eyes, and that's Kimi Antonelli. And I didn't pick him for my predictions because I thought Charles and Ferrari would go well. But Kimi's just been another level. And I think it's all just the way he manages or uses the battery on this car around the circuit, because it's clear that's Mercedes' biggest strength. But it's how you use it and work it, because George Russell hasn't got on top of it yet this season at any point. And I think that's been the interesting part, isn't it? Arvid Lindblad is, half a tenth behind Max Verstappen? Pretty good lap, isn't it, Arvid? Oscar 2/10 off Lando Norris. It's about where he's been all season. He's not a country mile behind him, but he's just been behind Lando, and I think that's the disappointing bit with Oscar Piastri so far this season. Whereas last season he was brilliant, put Lando Norris in his shade for most of the season. He's not been the same. And I think that's the really interesting part with these regulations, because we've seen drivers that, for one reason or another, really, really struggle with these cars. Exactly, yeah. In the lower tier Red Bull, 0.5 of Max. Pretty solid lap. He'll be happy with that. Nearly 6/10 on Liam Lawson at the moment. Lawson, I think he probably just didn't get his lap right, but it's a big 4 minutes for Lawson. That car is top 10 worthy. Audis are in with a shout, I think. I think watch out for one of them. They did look good in free practice 3. So watch out for them towards the bottom. The top 4 will be the top 4. They're all pretty much through, aren't they? There's nobody in trouble there. Potentially George, but someone needs to, or 3 drivers need to find 3 or 4 tenths. It's possible. Liam could do that. We could see Arvid's ahead of him. Hadjar and Bortoletto are the 3 that can potentially bump. It's Bortoletto, Lawson. I think Russell might still just be safe. There's a bit of a gap, isn't it? 3 tenths. Yeah, but apparently he's pretty happy. He wants to stay. Lewis is getting out the car. He's not going out for another lap. Just looked like a worrying thing the way they took him out. That it's like they're not found an issue, and they're doing a lot of work. Is that a seat change? We've seen George Russell do that in Silverstone, didn't we? Fast work going into that Ferrari. Hopefully they've not spotted some issue. Just the speed and the seriousness of the working in that garage got you a little bit worried. But yeah, watch out. There's a real battle, I think, between one red Racing Bulls and an Audi at the moment. Because that lap of Lindblad, I think that will keep him through. It's a brilliant lap from him. It's got real pace, and they've bought upgrades, and they're clearly working, heading in the right direction. Racing Bulls. Been very impressive this season. They needed it. Switch role reversal with the Williams. Racing Bulls were pretty disappointing last season. This season, they've been brilliant. Williams, really good and promising last season. Picked up a podium. Sainz picked up a podium before Lewis did last year in a Williams than Lewis in a Ferrari. And if you'd said that when the move happened, you'd have slapped yourself. I would have. Just seems so outlandish, didn't it? But it happened. And I think that's been the big disappointment for him and Williams. A lot of talk or more talk still of Carlos Sainz. Is he on the move? James saying and doing everything possible to just convince him that they'll get it right, but we'll see. Apparently, I don't know if you followed it, but in free practice 1, I believe it was, they've got James on the pit wall. They throw to him and talk of the 27 engine, just because there's obviously engine talk is big here this weekend. And he was saying that actually the aero change is pretty big as well. And like the commentators for free practice were in for a surprise, so was I, because I've not seen anywhere or read anything about the aero changes for 27, but apparently significant aero changes at the rear of the car, which will change the characteristics and the way that they use, or the air flows through the back end. So watch out on that front. At the moment, they do seem to have quite a lot of work, and the rear end of these cars are really significant. Always have been, but again, really significant this season. And if they're making a change to that, it sort of affects a lot of the car front to back. You can't change. I think that's the interesting thing with it. It's always been like that in Formula One, isn't it? You can't just change the front end and leave the big one. Kimi, honestly, I don't know. I don't think they need to. I don't know. Apparently, it's to help the racing. So unless some teams are bringing parts in, and we've seen this over the years where they did bring things in on the rear end of the car that would disturb the air coming off it, so that it was not good for the car behind and they couldn't follow closely. And there's elements of that sneaking in with these regulations or the way they're designing the rear end of the car. It's the only thing I can think of why the FIA would want to do it. And the reason that they've said they want to do it is purely because to improve the racing and allow better following. So they still think that's kind of there, although it's looked better. I don't know if that's battery usage that's helped. And I think that's been the big cloud over these whole regulations is the aero better and that's why they're able to follow closely, or is it just purely engine battery that they're able to follow closely, the yo-yoing effect in the sense of how close they are able to get in and out of corners. It's the engine power that's making the difference, and that's why they're able to follow closer. I think that cloud needs to sort of just demist a little bit so we can see and make our way through it as fans. But again, we're told by almost everybody in Formula One, drivers, personnel, that it's very, very complicated even for them. And us fans probably won't understand it. And the more you dig into it, I probably agree. I've looked at some of the battery stuff; it just goes straight over my head. Not an electronic engineer. Know not enough about it to understand it. So let's see what happens on that. End up with hover cars and mushrooms to chase. Improve it equals make it more American friendly. I don't know. We've seen a lot of sports go that way, haven't they? Football this year, if you've been following the World Cup, has gone, well, they've turned up to American, and they've just completely Americanized the sport. With we used to have a half time, a stop after 45 minutes of the game for a 10 or 15-minute break, and then they play again for 45 minutes. But for this World Cup, for a water break, they split the halves into we get quarters, and then they have a 2 or 3 minute water break, even when it's raining and cold. They did that before when it was in really hot countries, and well, they've done it for this World Cup, and it's just to get ad breaks in, proper Americanized it, and it's annoying. And yeah, I agree with you, Kimi. It's they kill sports. Have you watched? I don't know if you do watch. If you've watched much American sport, it's so difficult to watch. If you're watching an NBA game, it's like you're watching adverts. I tried to watch. I mean, I must have lasted about 15 minutes, but it was just constantly adverts. Even while the game's going, there's adverts and stuff just cluttering the screen. You didn't really just get to view and enjoy the game. It was just always on a break, always an ad. Someone had dunked the ball and it'd go for a 10-second ad, and the ball could be down the other end, and it's just, don't do that with Formula One, please. But they're moving big, aren't they? Liberty bought MotoGP as well. Seeing a lot more investment follow, especially in the MotoGP side of things, because, well, if they get it right, like you've got to say they have done in Formula One, in terms of, I've got to say the commercials. Oh, Nico Hulkenberg, as they've just come back out. Oh, well, that's one of my Audi's prediction doing well gone. Except to use YouTube. Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Kimmy. It's getting bad. Yeah. Let's hope they can stay away from it. And I know that the problem is that the F1, even under Bernie, had this obsession of cracking America. Hydraulic leak in the Audi. That's a kick. I mean, he was out at P14 anyway, actually, so I don't know what I'm on about. Oh, he was out. That's me just being deluded. Apologies. Yeah, so it was Bortoleto that made it through. Was a battle with the two. I've just waffled on and completely missed the end of Q2 there. Cracking Americans of the break F1. It feels that way, doesn't it, Primcat? They had that mad obsession with it. Bernie did as well. Understandable. Like the size of the UK is pretty much the size. Oh, so the size of the US is bigger than the whole of pretty much Europe. So, money signs is what they saw, and that's what Bernie's about. Sold it to Liberty, American, and there's parts and elements where I think they've done a brilliant job. And the part and elements that say they've done a brilliant job is the media element of it, in the sense of the access into the teams and drivers. It was closed doors, limited, cold interviews from drivers and the odd team personnel that you did get to see. The next flip thing, I don't like the whole dramatization of it. I just like the real F1 version of it would be perfect. Don't need to add fairy tale storylines to it. It's F1 has that anyway. If you follow it enough and deeply, don't need to accentuate or exaggerate any of it there. But the behind the scenes of it, I think they've got that right. But making it more showy, it's still a sport, and it kind of needs to remain a sport. And they, at times, you think they're blurring the lines between the show and the sport element with Formula One. And I think every element of sport has a show aspect to it, but I think that's. Do you think so, Kimi? I'm not so sure, but we now get. I don't know if that's just because of the world that we're in. We do get a lot more behind the scenes content footage that we ever did. I mean, it does have. We've got stuff like Instagram and things like that. Are they more separated now? I think they're more media savvy and more media trained now. So maybe we're not getting the real driver in that sense. We're getting a more polished media professional. Is that what you're getting at? More separated? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Is that what you're getting at? Are they not them real selves? They're a sort of polished media self, and then what they are otherwise. I think the world has got a little bit like that, hasn't it? With sort of Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Everybody's a little bit like that. I drove the track and parked along the straight. It was just the access. We just walked straight through. Race was on live. We at the back of the pit garage, walked straight through, walked into a pit garage. Cars were coming down pit lane, and they were happy for us to just stay in the pit garage as long as we didn't enter onto the pit lane while cars were out on track. But that level of just wandering around, enjoying it, and freedom to be in and out was second to none. You go to F1 and it's pay to get into this barrier, pay to get through to the next barrier, pay to get through into the next barrier. You want to see this viewing, pay to get in here. Want to see this, pay to get in there. They did that a lot around Monaco as well, wasn't they? Because there's quite a few vantage points where you could watch the race free, and then they barricaded it off. Vegas was particularly bad for it, weren't they? They've sort of covered off bridges and boarded stuff up and stuff like that. So as a fan, I think you're probably right. Oh, wow. That's pretty impressive, Kimi. Every team. The media side of it was very closed off, though. I didn't get to tell. I was a bit young to go to a Grand Prix then. I was, 10 years old? 98 is probably... I still remember vividly Spa 98. It's probably one of the races this weekend. Is why I love Spa so much. Is the first Grand Prix that I watched was Spa 98. Or one of the ones that I vividly remember in 98 was Spa. I was following all the earlier stuff, but 98, like I said, was the season I got into it. But Spa 98 was absolutely brilliant and awful all at the same time if you're a Schumacher fan like I was, because you were absolutely wounded. I think it cost him the championship that season. But if you've not seen it, there's plenty of... I won't spoil it. Get on YouTube, watch a video on it. Spa 98. Absolutely cracking race. Chaos at the start. Chaos midway through. Brilliant. Oh, excellent. You got right in there, Kimi, with that one. And I'd be interested, was you were just allowed to walk down pit lane? No special tickets? Oh, right. That is special. I don't think you're going to get away with that now. Maybe as a support race engineer, in the position that you were in, I'd probably, would you be able to do that now? I think it'd be harder. I do remember going to Nürburgring in... I can't remember when. 08, 09 maybe? I can't remember exactly the year. And end of race, we walked the track, and then we were just walked straight into pit lane as the cars were coming out Parc Fermé checks in covers, and we were literally like that with a car. Team personnel, you could have a chat with them. You could see the cars like on your feet. So that was then. I've not been to one in the last few years, to be honest, to say, yeah, I could do that. Now it's closed 3 weeks before a weekend. Yeah, that's... Yeah. I think there's a lot of things like that that were I wouldn't say old, but pre the times that we're in now. Things were just better, weren't they? It's no longer... Pay barriers seem to be everywhere. And I don't know if it's just a whole subscription-based model to improve, and they just weed money out of you that way. Is it a whole greed thing? What it is, it's... Oh my God. What a dream. Damon Hill's Joy, lucky you. Well, you've got experiences. You should start your own pod, Kimi, and I'll watch. Talk about them experiences, because I've not had I've never sat in a Formula One car. It'd be an absolute dream if I could, but he is tall. Surprisingly tall. And there's not many tall F1 drivers. I still remember Wilson that drove for a Jaguar. Jason Wilson, if I'm wrong, drove for a Jaguar. He was tall, wasn't he? Outlandishly tall. What is it, like 6 foot something though? But it's like probably what my height, 6'1", 2, maybe it was a bit bigger than that. But just seems outlandish to have tall drivers. They're all tiny now. If you look at Kimi. 98. I'm old now. Well, I remember 98 well. I'm not old. Not old yet. There is a nice tow with Max. He was flying in the final sector in FP3, and he did get a free practice session 3. He got a great tow in the final sector. 44.9. First time into the 44s. That is a lap that you need to be. Oh, Kimi Antonelli. Straight back. A 44.8. A 10th. It's what we've seen in free practice. George, 3/10 down on his teammate. That's closer than he's been. He'll be probably happier than that. But he's left himself a slot if someone else, a McLaren, I don't think he's worried about the McLaren. Oh, Charles Leclerc. That was a lap. Where's he pulled that one out, Charles? Nicely done. That's given him a real strong shout. We've got Norris purple, Oscar Lewis 4th. We didn't see his final lap. Norris is going to be right up there. Pole position, Lando Norris. The tow from Max Verstappen has clearly really helped. What a lap. A big 7 minutes. Well, a big next lap. Norris has obviously got the 10th place penalty. He'll start 10th. The best he can do. He'll be happy with that. Closer. Nice to see Charles Leclerc, though. Less than a 10th behind Lando Norris at the moment. It was half a 10th behind Kimi Antonelli. So that's a hell of a lap from Charles Leclerc. He does show up, Mr. Qualifying. Russell, P6. Turn 14 to turn 18. Everything on the straight, he's saying. Well, he's probably used too much battery at the first part of the circuit where he's not got the power at the back. That was something I mentioned in the preview, and it's showing right there for George Russell. That was a hell of a lap from Max Verstappen. First man into the 44s. Then comes Kimi Antonelli, and then Lando Norris. And all three, to be fair, have been brilliant so far this weekend. No surprise. The surprise really here is Charles Leclerc in the mix. He jumps Max Verstappen, and he's, nearly 2/10 up on Lewis Hamilton, and we've not seen that this weekend. He pulled a surprise in Austria. He did it in Silverstone, and could he sneak up on us again here in Spa? That's why I predicted him for pole. I did have, I think it's Leclerc pole, Antonelli second, Lewis third. Red flag? I'm not sure. Is it gravel on circuit? They just want to clean it and let everyone have a clean final run. I'm for that. If it, at least we'll get proper second runs rather than they try to go out and it's just a bit dusty. It just say track maintenance. Everybody's in the pits. Track now clear. There is gravel there. There is quite a bit of gravel. But they've got yellow flag track hazard. I don't understand what's going on here. Are they just testing out the pit exit closed? But the timing has stopped. It looks like it's still red flagged. But we've just gone from red to yellows and double yellows. Pit exit's closed, so nobody can go on track. Everybody's in the pits, so they can just clear up the gravel. I don't know why they were not out there doing it yet. That's another slight delay to this session. But I'm all for it. Let's get the track cleared. Let's get everybody get a clean run, and we can see it's going to be a big few minutes, this one. Not as big as Monaco. You can overtake here. And any one of the top three. I'm kidding myself. Kimi Antonelli's winning this race. But anybody of the top three can win this race. Well, anybody from anywhere can win this race. We've seen others do it from 14th, 16th. Further back, it is a circuit you can overtake at and expect the unexpected. And we've had a lot of that this season. There'll be another safety car. We've had one every Grand Prix. So nothing about a restart. They've not shown anybody get on track, have they, and clear the gravel either? Damon's cockpit was like a bathtub. It's interesting that, isn't it? We've always had the impression that they're just sort of nice, narrow. Hope no marshals do it. It wouldn't surprise me. Nothing would surprise me, pedals. One lucky person, you, Kimi, with that experience. I'm jealous. I think it'd be pretty awesome to have anything like that. Sort of level of... I don't think you'll get that now without paying your way through. I think you're absolutely right on that point. But is that Americanization or popularity? I'm not sure. The popularity was always there. I think they were talking, is it Adelaide, the Adelaide 95, I think it was had the record for the biggest attendance to a Formula One Grand Prix. And we've just hyped up about how popular Formula One is now and it's growing as a sport and all this sort of stuff. When actually it's only in Silverstone now that they broke that record from 95. So it kind of was always popular. So just a thing to point out. It was pretty special. I bet they had a great time. I think it's really cool that you just got that experience just to chat with them and be... Oh, really? I think they were being innocent, probably. I can't believe that's not true. No strip clubs in Italy. Interesting fact. Or not fact. Happy days. Well, that level of interaction with teams now, I don't think you're right. I don't think you're going to be able to do that now. I think the PR of that now would be like kill a lot of them off, wouldn't it, as well? That sort of stuff. The stories and all that. It's so corporate now, which is a bit of a shame. It's not as rough as ready as it once used to be. I think that's was also one of the beauties about it. Especially when you see like images of James Hunt getting out of a car and just sat there, overall rolled down, chest out having a fag. It's just like one of them images, like absolutely just lives with you, doesn't it? I don't think you'd kind of get that rawness, roughness. Now it's a bit corporate, and I don't think that's always the right way to go. They would have. Yeah, I agree with you on pedals. We've got a restart now. It says 17:04. It's 16:04 here, hour behind. So we should be getting going any minute. Or now, really. 6 minutes to go. It's a long lap out, so I think they'll be all getting out in about the 5-minute mark. Slow lap round, it's going to be over 2 minutes. Yeah, and then the bunching up. So they'll be coming out into the pit lane win the next few minutes. Explains a lot, that, Kimi. Explains a lot. Session restarted. We are off. But it's really got close. Top 5 under 3/10. And so I didn't expect this. When you looked at free practice sessions, there was a huge gap from first to second to third, fourth. The Ferraris were 3/4 of a second off. In FP1, FP2, they went a million miles closer. But they're right there. Charles Leclerc, right on the money. Bortoletto's done a solid session. currently now ahead of Isaac Hadjar, who's not got a time. He sacrificed himself for Max Verstappen on the first run. He's starting at the back of the grid, so he's really just taken someone else's spot in this SQ3, not SQ, Q3 session, because he's starting at the back of the grid for the power unit change, like I said, and it will be Liam Lawson that starts in his place. And if someone beats Lando Norris, he'll be starting one more position up, won't he? Could potentially a P8. We'll see how it works out for him. But Norris is... that's an impressive lap, that. He has looked on the pace, and the updates of the McLaren significantly better. There's no two ways about that. They did say significant. When you look at the list, it's just all rear wing work. And like I was saying, if there's going to be rear wing element changes for next year, it's clearly significant. If you tweedle around with it and you get it right, it's made a big difference. Look at McLaren this weekend. They've had some strong performances in odd races, McLaren, but they've not quite there. Lewis, is he first out? No, he's not. I can see. Norris was last man. Lewis will be pretty late across the line as well. It's about 4 cars for Lewis. Then the 2 McLarens. Verstappen and Hadjar doing the... I can't see Hadjar yet, though. He's quite a bit ahead of Max Verstappen at the moment. He's going to be another... Going around to give him another helping hand is Isaac Hadjar. He did it in the final sector, which was interesting, but Max with a final sector toe and improvement in FP3, seen him close significantly on the Mercedes. So is that where they feel they're losing the most pace, and that's where the toe is giving them the most benefit rather than at the top? Max first to cross the line. Let's see what he can do. Not quite at the apex or the resource. Carry the speed through, though. Wasn't too wide. Up through La Eau Rouge. This is where we're going to see some overtakes, I reckon. Where did Norris come from? He's been on the money, I think. He's second in FP2 and 3. Personal best max 30.4. Top is a 30.1. It's about 0.3 off fastest, but it's his best. Personal best from Charles Leclerc next. Lewis is faster than Charles, 30.1 for Charles. Russell better, 30.1 as well. Max Verstappen, personal fastest first sector. He gets the toe now of Isaac Hadjar. He timed that really well, didn't he? Did that cost Max? Was that almost too much? Almost too much. But Max crossed the line. A 10th up. Pole position. As it stands, Max Verstappen. No, 3/10 up. Kimi Antonelli didn't last long. George Russell is going to be the next over the line. What can he do? It's a better lap from him, but P4 Charles Leclerc, what's he got? 2 personal bests in his. And it could be overall P5. Disappointing from Charles Leclerc. Hamilton as well. 5th and 6th. Arvid Lindblad, fastest first sector. Personal best. Oh, not a great final sector. Arvid Lindblad, P7. We've got Piastri and Norris. What can Piastri do? Replaces Arvid Lindblad. Lando Norris. Is he going to cross the low? He's given up. No, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't matter, does it? Didn't have a very good middle sector. Lando Norris. Kimi Antonelli is on pole position. He's got Max Verstappen right behind him. George Russell will be 3rd. 4th will be Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton will move up to 5th because Lando Norris gets a 10-place penalty to start 13th. Pinny, he's done it. He's been the man to beat. As I was saying, this guy's absolutely on it. I'm disappointed with the Ferraris. Half a second gap. Everybody had a little bit more. It was high 44s. It's now low 44s for, especially for the, well, Kimi Antonelli and Max Verstappen's a brilliant lap from Max Verstappen. It's why you can never count in. Oh, he went really wide. Lando Norris. But a 1, 2, and 3. George Russell will be happy that he's Norris has got a penalty, hasn't he? Because that's 1 extra position up for him in the championship. Max is back in form. You can never count this guy. I thought once they've said they're not going to have that rear wing, I thought they'd kind of struggle. But their Sector 2 pace has been brilliant. There's no 2 ways about that. And I thought that's where the Ferraris would be strongest, but they're not. Max really buzzing with that. The toe in the final sector was, well, a huge difference. Is just a 10th back of Kimi Antonelli, who did the fastest sector 3 with a 28.1. Well, we've got Arvid Lindblad that's did a 30.1, and he's got the fastest first sector, so he wins that. Fastest sector 2 is the Red Bull of Max Verstappen, but it's only by 9 thousandths of a second, so that was a really good sector 2 from Kimi Antonelli. Probably the best we've seen from him this weekend. I think that's been the big difference. Sector 3 is where the Mercedes is fast as well. The strength of the power unit comes into play, sector 1 and 3. So they were always going to be quick there, but I mean, he's done it. Half a second faster than George Russell is Kimi Antonelli. The kid is flying. There's no 2 ways about that. Absolutely brilliant. It's what a grid. I'm glad to see Max up there. It'll be a different race. Let's hope he can get away well. That'll be big for him, big for the race. You definitely want to keep George Russell behind it. The battle between Max and George, looking forward to that. If Kimi gets away clean, and it's a big if, it's what potentially cost him in Silverstone. He had to really, really push hard to get up and close and stick with the Ferraris. He was absolutely flying. Yeah, he just needs to stay first. If he can do that lap 1, I think Kimi's running away with it. That Mercedes has got the pace. He's got the pace. He's absolutely flying at the moment. Will gets his start. So yeah, I think so, Kimi. They have done. Just Silverstone wasn't good, was it? Both Ferraris passed him. So there's still that doubt there. It just lingers in your head for Kimi Antonelli. Absolutely brilliant to see him. I've become a real fan of this kid. He's just really, really exciting to see. Just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. All the talk of, it being his teammate, and I keep saying it every weekend, and I will when Kimi's on top, because well-deserved. He's put George Russell in his place. And all the British media and all this nonsense of hyping him up and, George, King George, he's going to be the man. He's, Mercedes #1 driver. Kimi is the rookie. And, well, they've all had to just sort of bow the head a little bit. Give respect to this young Italian raw talent. You've got that right, Kimi. It was absolutely phenomenal. He's done it again. And let's hope he can, or Mercedes deliver for him this time around, because he's delivered. He did the job. He did it in Barcelona, let down. Did it in Silverstone, let down. Let's hope he can get his European season off to the start that he deserves, because this time last year he struggled. He's actually done better, which is really interesting. In the last 3 Grand Prix where he was last year, he DNF'd, but he was slow and slower than his teammate by a distance. And he had a horrible European season. And so far, he's had 2 horrible races, with both which he's done better than his teammate. One he should have won, one he would have been second. And he's come back to Belgium. And what I've really liked about him is had these kick in the teeth, and he's just been brilliant. Kimi, let's hear him talk. Not a straightforward session, he said. Track changed. Improved lap by lap. Got it on pole. Tomorrow is another day. Max starting next to him. Needs to get a good start. I think he'd probably be slightly happy that Max is starting next to him, because Max hasn't had great starts. Let's see if they can get on top of their starts tomorrow, Red Bull. Sector 2 is saying he improved a lot. Yes, we can see that on the timings. It is best Sector 2. Very clean lap. Max saying the toe actually really helping him. And Naomi Schiff actually questioned whether it hindered him. It did look at one point where he got free Blanchiment and he just got a little bit too close to Isaac. And did he need to lift? He clearly didn't. And he said that was the difference. If I didn't have it, I wouldn't be standing here. So he'd be very, very happy. Sector 3, where he struggled, but we've seen what he did in FP3. And I think because of what he's seen in FP3, when he did get that lap and the toe, he was brilliant. Max, let's see. Who said he'll do his best. Tough on the long ring with the tyres. Had a decent run on tyres. Lando P3. Good to see him up in the top 3. Sadly, it's not Ferrari. Norris, we've not changed anything, just quicker on this track. That just seems a bit of a lie, doesn't it? You've said you've bought significant upgrades. And there are upgrades. But like I said, it didn't look significant. Either significant upgrades or it's not. I'm not so sure. From Lando Norris. Absolutely pedals. Let's hope we can get Ferraris on the podium. They're in with a sniff. They'll line up 4th and 5th. So yeah, Leclerc lining up alongside George Russell. Antonelli lining up amongst Verstappen. Hamilton and Piastri lining up alongside each other. They're in the danger zone, aren't they? 6th, 7th and 8th. They do bunch up going into that hairpin. We do get some incidents there. And if we get mixed starts, it's going to be a bit crazy. So watch out. Be a pretty interesting start to Belgium. It generally has been. End of Kemmel straight down into turn 5 out of Eau Rouge will be really interesting. We got the big move there, didn't we, last year with Oscar on Norris in the wet. Could we get some rain? Cause chaos. Predicted dry conditions, but you can never count out what can happen around Spa. But yeah, there we have it. Thanks for watching along, guys. Hope you enjoyed the watch along. Thank you again, Kimi, Primcat, Pedals, for your comments and joining in. You just make this interactive and enjoyable. And yeah, really appreciate you joining along. It's brilliant. And for the other people that are watching, get in the comments. Let's enjoy the chat. It's what makes this, for me personally, really enjoyable. Love it. So glad that you guys get in the comments and views and everything across. Really appreciate it. But yeah, final thoughts. Kimi's on pole, and if he gets away clean, he's winning it. I'm putting it out there right now. Max Verstappen, can't count him out. He'll do everything he can with strategy, options. Let's see. It's one stop, an aggressive two stop. If anybody goes with that, he did say, not sure about tired deg. And will that mean they try something aggressive? It's worth the risk. I think it depends on what his pace will be in the first run, of whether he'll take that risk or not. Ferraris are in with a shout, and I think that's only going to be if there's some sort of safety car and it falls right for you. You can, if you get it right, there'll be big luck. It's a big lap. So tomorrow, we'll see. If the luck falls your way, we could see potentially the Ferraris pull something out. They've not quite had the one lap pace. You've got to say of the Red Bull and Kimi Antonelli, but they're there or thereabouts, and we could see the Ferraris fight with Max. George Russell's done a solid job. He's closer to Kimi Antonelli, but half a second back is a hell of a lot of lap time. And is he looking backwards more than forwards? Because management is something that he's really struggled with. Personally, I think if the two Ferraris beat him, it'll be brilliant, and as does Max. And a win for Kimi Antonelli, I'll be over the moon. But it should be interesting. Lots of option theories going through and to the back. We'll find out for the race tomorrow. Join me. I'll be on air live 10 minutes before the start of the race, 1:50 p.m. My time. You can click the notification, and we'll see how it goes. Should be a good one. Thanks for watching. If you're new, please subscribe. If you enjoy the video, hit the like button. See you on the next one.